And we need to get out of our head, out of our mind, out of our analytical mind. We will never understand God with our mind. We will only understand God in our heart, because that's where God lives. God does not live in our mind. We created the ego, not God. And he gave us free will. And so based on that, we have made shitty choices throughout the eons and eons of years. Thousands of years. The whole concept that God punishes, in reality, we're the ones that punish ourselves. I can say that God is misunderstood because people
Please don't let me be misunderstood.
People want to understand God with their head and their mind and spreadsheets and please and facts. Give me the facts. Okay, so how are you going to explain your soul? Check it out first.
If you're ugly, you're ugly.
It's not that. It's different positions, you know? Different angles. That's cute. Oh, that's really cute. I think I'm going to zip this up.
You do you, boo.
That's my line. I always say that.
So yeah, so there's this, so I wanted to,
Nice and cozy and warm.
yeah, I was gonna wear my other jacket on top of this too, but then the sun came out, I was like, I look at full.
Is that why you're wearing your sunglasses right now? On your chain?
Yeah, well, no, that's just for looks, you know?
Seriously, look at me. Like, I look like I just rolled out of bed. My hair.
Nah, your hair looks better than mine. Your hair. So yeah, like with the drug lords and stuff, like I don't admire them. You know, like a lot of people wear the freaking El Chapo, or you know, they like that stuff. It's I'm like, I don't want to paint guys that I don't admire, but I could do a badass one for sure. And a friend of mine told me, I said, hey man, like I'll paint something for you. You're a lifelong friend. He's Diego's friend. His name's Robert. And he has a man cave. And so he was telling me about the Kobe that I painted. And I'm like, I'll paint something for you. Just let me know what you want. And that's when the conversation came up about the drug lords. And then afterwards I started thinking about, like, well, I could paint the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
I was like, a lot of Mexicans like that stuff.
Wait, so it's interesting though, because you know how I asked you, how did that come about to your awareness to do that, right? And it's just funny how like you went from like drug lords to Mother Mary. You're like, wait a minute, I can do that.
Yeah, because it's so those drug lords would be like a Mexican thing, right? Like at least El Chapo. Yeah, El Chapo's Mexican. He's
also Colombian ones.
Oh yeah, Pablo Escobar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He suggested like one of the gorilla, like a Chiapas gorilla type person. He's like with the what is that thing called? The beanie that goes over the face and stuff like that.
Why would he want that?
No, he was just like, oh, that would look dope. Like if you could paint one of those, he goes, your style, the way that you paint, would look really dope if you were to do one of those. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, Jesus and her
Mother Mary.
Mother Mary. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end up painting one, and then I'll give it away or something. I don't know. I wouldn't put it up.
Fun fact. So, in fact, my whole life I didn't know this until I want to say the last maybe 3 years. Mother Mary. So the Virgin Mary.
Hold on. The Virgin Mary is the mom of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I don't know if you've heard of like the other ones that have appeared around the world. So like every country has like their own version. It's just the Virgen de Guadalupe is from Mexico. And that's how she appeared in Mexico. And I had honestly never really thought about it before. I mean, I grew up Catholic, but I never really, like, there was no like, this is how, you know, Mother Mary manifested herself, like showed herself to this side of the world, like somewhere in Europe, you know, for example. And so in my travels, I realized like they have so many different areas. They have so much love for her, and each one is different, you know. So like there's the Lady of Lourdes in France. I don't know if you are familiar with that.
Yeah, that there's different versions of her around the world. Sure, I've heard of that.
You've heard of that. Okay. So I mean, obviously we all have, but one thing I learned a few years ago is it's her. It's one, you know, Mother Mary, one Virgin Mary, but she presents herself to that area of the world so that they could assimilate, you know, to her people. So when she manifested to Juan Diego, you know, ella apareció como India, like that. That's how she had manifested, like a, you know, Indian.
I wish, and it's funny too, because when I talk to people, I love to watch documentaries, right? So I'm sure there is a documentary of Mother Mary. I would like to look that up, like to be like, okay, well, what's the story behind this? Like, what happened?
There's a lady of Fatima.
What's that?
Fatima she's in Portugal. So she's the one, and there are, because now that you're saying
Fatima or Fatima?
Like, cualquiera como lo quieras decir, however you want to say it, right? Fatima.
Fatima?
Fatima.
Fatima. What's up, Fatima?
Hey.
Hey, I'm just saying it.
It's not Aunt Jemima.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? So Fatima, is it the same one?
Lady of Fatima? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah, it's the same one. She appeared in Portugal.
Okay. To
the children back in, I don't remember the dates, but there is a documentary about that. Amazing. Like everything you, like the more you start digging, the more you're like, it gets you thinking.
You know what's interesting is well, you and I had that conversation about the similarities in God, meaning this guy right here, Jesus, in other forms, in my opinion, right? I'm not saying it's your opinion, but in my opinion, that the story carries on in different areas. And part of the thing is like, that's how he needed to present himself, or that presence or that being, how that presence needed to, in my mind, how they needed to present themselves so that they were embraced by the culture at that time. It's kind of like we were talking about, well, we weren't talking about it, but very briefly said about Ancient Aliens.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about that.
And also, what's the other one? Ancient Apocalypse, Graham Hancock, where it's a similar story across the world at different times, different cultures. And so, yeah, it's interesting that Mother Mary, is that what you call it? Mother Mary presented herself to Diego. I have no idea what the story. I'm actually learning right now.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot more to learn too.
Yeah, but still, I don't know none of it. So it's interesting to me. It's cool from a historical standpoint. For me, not a religious standpoint, not a spiritual standpoint, but more or less like the history behind it.
So more on the cool history facts, right, behind it. I'll share a little bit about the.
So what's the story? Tell me about it.
The only thing that I can share that I know, there's so many things still to this day being uncovered about specifically the appearance of La Virgen de Guadalupe, right? It's the only one that was not painted. Her image was an apparition. So it has so much mystery in it. It has been scientifically proven, from my understanding, that it has no paint strokes. No one drew her. No one painted her. It's an actual imprint, like a manifestation. But it's an imprint that carries so many messages within. You look it up online, and it has a lot of messages hidden within her eyes, her aura. Even recently, I never knew this. Just recently, somebody posted about how, I don't know his role in Mexico, but there's one guy in Mexico who was studying. They're always studying her, right? specifically La Virgen de Guadalupe.
But what is it? Like, is it like a painting now? Or is
No,
it?
she was never a painting. She was an appearance that made an imprint on. So when she appeared to Juan Diego,
What do you mean, like, appeared like he saw something and like.
yeah, you know how you share stories about you seeing angels and light? I mean, they come out of nowhere.
Right.
Okay. So just like that, you know, the story is that he was out. Again, I don't know exactly where, you know, out and about, somewhere in the
Out
field.
doing nefarious stuff. Like, what are you doing, Diego?
She's gonna appear to you like that. Watch.
I should better not.
What are you doing, Jorge? ¿Qué estás haciendo, niño?
So like this was
Malcriado.
out like in the fields. He's probably like trying to get away from his wife or something.
I don't
Need some alone time. And then some lady's like, go back home. ¿Qué andas haciendo, Diego? So, all right. So Diego's out in the field. His name's Diego, right? Is that what you said?
Juan Diego.
Oh, Juan Diego. Okay. Juan Diego. We'll just call him Diego. And then she just appears to him in the field. Is that the story?
I'm not an expert on the story,
Okay,
but I can tell you that if you just Google it, you'll find out a little bit more details about, you know, where he was, how that happened. The point is that she appeared to him, okay, to bring the message to his people, you know, at the time. And it's just fascinating, like, to know she was so the imprint that exists, and again, I don't know exactly where it made an imprint. I think it was on something he was wearing. That it made an imprint of the apparition, and it's not painted, it's not, you know, drawn like she is.
It's like a transfer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But is it that, or that's just an artist rendering?
No, this is it.
On his clothing?
Yeah, Google it and see how exactly, because like I said, I don't know the whole details of that story. I just know that she's the only one that was never painted, never, you know, hand drawn or anything like that. But yeah.
Oh. All right, we're back. I almost hit myself in the face again. So yeah. The what were we talking about?
Mother Mary, and that you were gonna look into the Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's all interesting things, right? Like all that stuff. So there's this thing that, as far as like the way the mind works, where I don't necessarily agree with it, but there's a theory. One of the theories is that your mind cannot conjure something, and it has to figure out a way to explain it if you've never seen it before. So, like the Native Americans, they were Native Americans who were, you know, let's say on the islands when Columbus landed. Mexican Americans, I don't know what you want to call them, but where they didn't know how to describe the ships.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. And they couldn't see them because they've never seen them before. Correct. Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to imagine this? Like, they've never imagined it. It's never crossed their mind because, you know, and they couldn't see it. That's the whole thing, that they say you can't see it if you've never imagined it.
Your mind can't perceive it if you've never seen it.
That's a better way to describe it.
Okay.
And so there are depictions within the Bible, or not depictions, maybe descriptions within the Bible and other cultural, historical documents, you could call it. They're not documents, but maybe tablets or whatever, where they're describing beings, right? Beings coming from up above, or chariots in the sky, chariots of fire.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah. I mean, there's fucking chariots back then. You had to describe it a certain way.
Maybe they were aliens and they didn't know how to describe them.
Correct. Correct. That's so it's like,
I understand what you're saying.
So to me, it's a logical way to explain it. It's like, dude, you have a guy that lives in the forest and he's lived there for hundreds of years, or in the jungle, and they don't have metal. Like, how else are they going to describe it? They're going to describe it like a ball of fire, or some dude up in a ball of fire. I don't know. So I think a lot of these stories from like way back when, it's hard to interpret because it's like, I mean, they didn't see a ball of fire. I mean, they could have described it as a ball of fire, but that was their best way of describing it at the
But
time.
maybe they did.
But maybe they did.
Hmm.
You know, so all that stuff's interesting to me.
When you were saying that, it's interesting that you were saying about the whole.
I say a lot of
ships.
interesting things.
You do. You're a very interesting guy.
Oh yes.
The whole, ships, and they couldn't see them, they couldn't describe because they've never seen before, right?
Mhm.
So it literally brought me to the same thing about God. If you've been closed off to God or anything like that, how could you even see God around you if you choose? Well, that would be a choice, but if you don't have that, like for instance, remember we were talking about free will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you were talking about, I just don't know. I choose not to. It's too much to think about. I choose not to believe. That's just too much to think about. I mean, it's the same energy. It's like you have a choice, whether to believe or not, and that's okay. I mean, God, who is God, gave us free will for that same reason, free choice, right? But the point is that you can choose not to see, even though God may be right in front of you.
Yeah, sure. I think that might be.
And it might be like, oh, in your mind or in somebody's mind, they have like a certain image or way of how they're supposed to see God. And in reality, maybe God showed up as that little kid asking for help, that, homeless lady asking for money. I know it's cliche. I know you've heard this before, but how do we know that that's not true?
I mean, that's why I have a problem with faith.
Tell me why.
Why?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. Because I feel envious of people like maybe like yourself, or people that,
In what way?
because or you feel that or you
We're always learning, just so you know. Every single one of us is always learning. No one has all the answers.
some people think they do.
Well, we're either operating from our head, our ego, or our heart.
Sorry.
Right? It's okay. So when we are in our head and our ego, the ego creates all these stories. It has to create all these stories, all these, personas, all these characters, because the ego's only job is to protect itself from not existing.
So can I tell you something? I could see your face, right? This side. But your hair's blocking your other side.
Ooh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so what else do I do?
No, that's just the only thing.
Okay.
Because
you can't really see me.
I could see your nose. So,
Okay.
yes, your ego.
Is that better?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, there
Okay.
you go. So your ego obviously protects you.
Yeah.
But like the people that, well, it's funny. Angel said it the other day. He goes, "Your ego's not your amigo." I think it is in a way, and then obviously, in extremes, it's certainly not. But what I was talking about in regards to like people that think that they know, it's like they think they're going to heaven. Right? So they think they're going to heaven. They think they're going to get 72 virgins.
Oh, well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The other beliefs and the other systems.
Sure, every
belief system has
their own thing, and they feel like
Mm-hmm.
they want to believe that when they pass away, there's something there. There's something after.
Yeah, I think it's a soul thing, right? It's a human thing that we don't want to cease to exist. We want to kind of like know that there might be something else. Like, this is not it.
And they think that they could pray to some guy up in the sky and he's going to answer your dang prayers. Really?
Why are you so bitter?
Because it's illogical. Because it doesn't make sense.
You can't explain God in a logical way. You can't explain him with spreadsheets.
That's faith.
Of course,
which
is what Jesus came to teach us.
Which is the reason I have a problem with it. Because you're asking me to believe in something.
Well, I didn't ask you to do that.
No, I'm not
Jesus
saying you.
did.
Or he's saying, believe in me.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, yeah, dude, but if you exist, then why? So I don't pay attention to, like, let's say, things that happen around the world.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about it. Doesn't affect my life. But Palestine and Israel. Right? That turmoil that's going on. That's
as ancient as the human history.
Correct.
My friend, yeah.
So, God, stop it. Hey, answer everybody's prayers. God, stop it. Why not? Oh, maybe they're punishing them because, Jews believe in the Old Testament. They don't believe in the New Testament. And the other guys, I don't know, they're of a different faith. Or what's going on in Ukraine. Or what goes on with slavery in Africa. Or all these things that someone would all say, well, there's always free will.
Which is what I've been telling you.
Correct. And I'm just like, well, yeah, you're kind of and I'm sorry. I mean,
okay, you don't
I don't want
to apologize.
Yeah, because I'm going to cuss. So you're
Go ahead.
You're kind of a shitty guy. You're kind of a...
Don't. You're going to have to cut that out. I do not want that on the podcast.
Oh my God.
See? I'm so sorry.
So you're kind of a child. You're
Why? Why do you feel that way?
So this is the duality of thought. So I'm being very jerkish right now.
You're definitely operating out of your head and your ego. And ego is
in this response.
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah.
I can go the other side. Hold on, I'll get there.
Every single one of us. We can. The ego is never going to cease to exist, just so you know. And your friend that said your ego is not your amigo, is that what he said? Well, actually, I would say the opposite. Yeah, it can become your enemy if you allow it, but your ego needs to become your friend.
How do you do that?
Well, you need to overcome it and not empower it, not feed it, not empower it. And we need to get out of our head, out of our mind, out of our analytical mind. We will never understand God with our mind. We will only understand God in our heart, because that's where God lives. God does not live in our mind. We created the ego, not God. And he gave us free will. And so based on that, we have made shitty choices throughout the eons and eons of years. Thousands of years. The whole concept that God punishes, in reality, we're the ones that punish ourselves. I can say that God is misunderstood because people
Please don't let me be misunderstood.
People want to understand God with their head and their mind and spreadsheets and please and facts. Give me the facts. Okay, so how are you going to explain your soul?
If you have one.
You think somebody doesn't have a soul?
It's weird because, again, you and I have talked about this, that I'm an oxymoron, right? So I just said...
I called you that, yeah.
I just said what I said, right, about God. And it's like, I can become very, like, and I think that the best way to, the way I describe myself, I'm very aggressive when it comes to certain things. Like, my tone changes. Like, I know my tone changes. I know it gets, like...
It's all the ghosts inside of you.
Yeah. Damn Casper?
The ones you wanted to keep.
Yeah, exactly. So my tone changes, and I could feel the anger inside of me. Right? Now, I can also have a conversation with someone that's like me and present the opposing view. And that's a lot of times when I talk to people, it's like, damn, dude, like, fuck, make up your mind. Like, what is it? You don't believe in him, or you do believe in him?
So
Do we have a soul? Do we not have a soul?
So you get frustrated at yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think a lot, right? And
Uh-huh.
I'm very pragmatic, and pragmatic allows you to look at both sides of an argument. Like, just look at it with logic, also look at it with your heart. Now, the part is that it's very hard for me to look at it with my heart. It's very hard, but I can do it. Um, and so it's something that the people that do believe in God, they think that they're going to heaven, and I think, and I've told my mom this many times, I think that it's just dead space for
That's-
eternity.
Mhm.
Never-ending darkness. And I'm like, I hate that. I wish I believed. I
You
wish
hate the fact that they're saying that there's that's
I believe that. That's what I believe.
Interesting. So you believe that there is a never-ending darkness,
When you die, it ends.
but then you don't believe the possibility that there could also be an endless light,
No,
heaven.
absolutely
Interesting.
not.
Why is that yes and why is this no for you? Why is this, which again, no one's proven that there's endless darkness. So why would you believe in that? If you're so logical and want facts, why would you believe in there's endless darkness, but not the possibility that there's endless light?
Because endless light means that there's something supernatural.
But not endless darkness?
No, it just means it ends.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing too is like, there would be endless darkness if there was consciousness after death, right? So when you die, you're dead, meaning it ends. Like, you
That's
don't know.
what you believe.
Correct. Like, that's one of my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's my most, I guess, I don't know, the belief that I have the most, and I got to argue myself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But but if I die and there's endless darkness, I won't know there's darkness. I won't know I'm dead. So it just becomes irrelevant. Like, you're just done. But then the other piece, what you were asking about the soul,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, this is just a vehicle. This is just, so I'm going to argue the other side. This is just a vehicle. This is just a vessel,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is the car I was given
Mm-hmm.
to ride.
That you chose, actually.
Okay. So this is the car I was given to ride.
Uh-huh.
And there's something else there, because this is fragile. All it takes is a fall,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is a fall. So am I my mind? Am I what's in my mind, in my brain? Is it the synapses that are firing off, or is there something else? So I have that. Again, I do go down in my own
Rabbit hole, which
rabbit hole.
the history of humanity, that's exactly what we've all done.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to understand who we are. Where do we come from? Do we have a soul? Is there something more than this physical body?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then some people choose to attach themselves to God. And I'm just like, well, that's one way
Okay.
of understanding it, right?
Okay.
That's one way of understanding our place in this universe or this world or whatever. But other people had different gods. So, like, what you're saying is, so, like, Jesus has been around for like 2,000 years, more or less,
2,500.
right?
2,500
2,500.
and change. Mm-hmm.
So, what about the Egyptians that were around before him? They're all going to hell. What about the Mesopotamians, and what about the Aztecs? And
Why
what
would
about
they go to hell, though?
they didn't believe in God. They didn't believe in Jesus.
Because he wasn't here yet.
Right. So they should go to hell then, because they didn't believe in him. With the logic of, if you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and
You're
Savior.
talking about Christianity.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's different belief systems, even within, religion.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to back up a little bit. You were talking about the whole darkness and light, and you rather, believe in the darkness. And not that you rather believe in darkness, but you feel like when we die, it just ends.
It gives me so much sadness.
No, what?
It gives me so much sadness. To know that it ends. To know that.
But yet you still don't want to open yourself up to the possibility that there might be endless light.
That would be weird.
Why is that weird? Or why would it be weird?
Why would it be weird? Because it doesn't fit.
With what?
With reality.
What reality?
The physical world.
The one that you've created in your mind?
The physical world.
Gotcha. So
that means that we have to believe in something external. We have to believe in something that is spirits and ghosts and energy. And all the things that you and I have talked about that I've experienced my whole dang life.
Which is so interesting to me. You're a oxymoron for sure.
Yeah.
Because the spirit world is like trying to get your attention. Like, hey.
I mean,
there's an angel there and it's like in the corner just like, hey, do you see me? I'm here.
So like for you grew up Catholic, right? That's your family. But it sounds like you weren't like let's say a family that went to church. Did you guys go to church every weekend?
No,
it was
I don't even remember my grandmother praying.
Where did you grow up?
I was born here in California. I grew up in El Salvador during the Civil War, which is crazy. But yeah, I don't remember anyone in my family being devoted. It was more like out of ritual, out of like
culture.
You know, we gotta go to church this Sunday. It's Palm Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny when I've gone to Catholic churches, I'm like, I have no idea what they're doing. Like, I'm like, dude, why do you guys get up and down so much?
They don't dance. Catholics don't dance at church.
No, they don't, but they get up and down.
Oh, I thought you said get up and dance. I'm like, they don't dance.
Amen. Like, you know, whatever they say. Amen. Padre. I'm just, and then they get up, they get down, they get on their knees. And I'm just like, it's so much ritual behind it.
It actually is.
You know,
it really is. And
I respect it because I you know, when I've gone, like, right now I'm being very open, obviously. But in those places, or when someone prays, or someone believes in Christ, or if someone's a Christian, or if someone's whatever they are, I respect it because I know how important it is to them. Now, they might not respect how I don't believe in that stuff, like 100%, or how my mind might work. And in life, I've always learned to try not to be offensive to them in that regards, because they can't take it. I could take it, but a lot of people who believe, you know, they find my thoughts offensive. And so, yeah, when I've gone to church, it's like, okay, like when do I get up? When do I get down? Like, what is he saying? Like, but there's a lot.
You've gone to church?
I've gone, yeah, many times.
What prompted you to go to church?
The Lord. No, okay. What? I don't know. My again, we didn't grow up religious, right? Just like you.
Yeah, no, it's just part of the culture. But even in that small little town, in El Salvador, they had different.
What town did you grow up in?
Pasaquina.
Quina.
And my mom lives in Pasadena, so she wanted to kind of stay there.
How old are you when you went back to El Salvador?
4.
You're 4.
Yeah.
I came here when I was 5, so when I was coming, you were going.
I was being shipped.
Yeah.
I was born here. People were fleeing the country.
Yeah,
I'm like, Mom, what were you thinking shipping me back where people are leaving the country in the middle of the Civil War?
And that's in the middle of the war.
Yeah. I remember hearing the bombs. As a child, you don't know what's going on. There was a whole toque de queda that no one, when there were, you know, whenever there was toque de queda, you couldn't be out on the streets past 6. But as a child,
toque de queda mean?
Toque de queda means that they've alerted, the guerrillas have alerted, like, hey, we're about to, and again, I don't know all the details, I was a child, but the whole thing is like, hey, we're going to be scouting the streets. We don't want anyone on the streets. If we see you, you're going down. So by 6 p.m., everybody be home. Don't be out on the streets. Don't get on buses. You might get bombed. Toque de queda.
Basically, it's like, we don't want to hurt civilians,
Mhm.
so stay your ass home.
Correct.
That's crazy, dude. And you were out there for how long?
5 years.
So you came back here when you were 9?
And then I went back when I was 11.
What is wrong with your mom? And then you came back when you were like 16? Maybe
Mhm.
15, 16?
16.
Do you go back often or no?
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Like once every 8-10 years. So I've gone back like, what, 3 times, I think?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you miss it? You don't?
I miss my family.
Sure. Do you have family out there still?
I mean, I love growing up in the whole country way of, being. Like, my grandpa had like cows. Like, my uncles would wake up and milk the cows. We had fresh milk and fresh cheese and all that. It was pretty cool. So yeah, pupusas all the time. What?
No.
You're like, oh, I wish I would have been there eating the fresh pupusas.
I know, right?
But you're like my cousin. My cousin was born in El Salvador, and then he came here around, I think he was 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's I remember the gunshots. I remember running through the streets trying to get away. When I was a child,
In the area that you grew up, though, you were in the capital, right? Near the capital?
I was, yeah, in San Salvador.
That was like hot, like a lot more activity. What's happening there?
And then obviously, like, my
Yeah.
parents tell me stories. Diego just came back, and he said that one of his Uber drivers used to be a police officer, and he got shot during the gang times, right? So there was like the war times, and then there was the gang times in El Salvador.
Mhm.
And how many of his partners were shot, killed, torn apart, like literally dismembered, thrown in front of the police station, family members getting threatened.
Yeah.
So, like, for us, my parents were, first, we're not going back because of the war, right? Like, literally lived down the street from a police station, and the police station was shot at. And I remember seeing like the gunshots and crazy and running through the streets. And then afterwards was the gangs. My parents were like, nope, we can't go back because of the gangs.
Yeah.
So,
And I remember that transition, honestly. 80s, 90s.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so then my parents always wanted to keep us away. Like, you're not going.
Mhm.
And they would go because a family member passed away or something. It's like, oh, I got to go for the funeral, then come right back.
Mhm.
But then after time, I think it started to get better. Like, even recently, it sounds like it is a lot better. They had, the surf competitions, they had the Pan American Games, they had the Miss Universe there.
Mhm.
So there's more safety.
Mhm.
Like, that's what the ex-police officer was telling Diego. Like, you feel like you can breathe, right?
Yeah.
You feel like you can breathe now.
Mhm.
And so I want to go back. I'd like to go
Should.
back
Yeah.
one day. I'd like to go back.
Wait, so when was the last time you were there?
I was never been there.
That's right. You did say that. So since you came
Since
you came here, you never went back.
I've never gone back.
Ooh.
And it's
beautiful country. It's beautiful. So when I say I don't miss it, I mean like living in that little tiny town. Pueblo chico, infierno grande.
mhm.
But no, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and he was telling me about culture, right? So, like, certain people he met, or they have to ask
Mhm.
for the girl's hand in marriage. They have to ask, can I date your daughter? And they're in their mid-20s.
I mean, you're talking about maybe 20 years ago.
No, like now.
Still now?
Now, people he met, And so he was telling me, he's like, that's just so weird that that a lot of people still live that way.
Right.
That they just live in old times almost, like culturally.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I say all of this is because of, like, you growing up Catholic, right? To say it was more of a cultural thing,
Mm-hmm.
a historical thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like how a lot of,
Are you not recording?
yeah, it's just,
sorry.
yeah.
I thought you stopped it.
No, no. So it's a thing that, like, it's just part of who we are. But it wasn't for you, from what it sounds like. It wasn't uh, uh, like the families that like vehemently just were very religious. It was just
No, I did not come from that. No. Yeah.
um,
I have an aunt who 100% prays and believes to Mother Mary,
mhm.
La Guadalupana. And
In El Salvador, they
yeah.
pray from to Mother
Oh
Mary.
Yeah.
There's no like El Salvador version of Mother Mary.
No.
That
Central
sucks.
America, why?
Because
I
we need
believe
our own.
I believe South America too. They're all about um La Virgen de Guadalupe.
Really?
The Lady of Guadalupe, yeah. It's but yeah, I remember her, my tia Tomasa, praying, and still to this day, she's all about her. But not like, it's not like I grew up in a religious home. No. Of course they believe in God, they believe in Jesus, Mother Mary, but it wasn't a thing of like you said, um, like every Sunday we go to church. No.
So did you guys become Christian like after some time or something, or like?
You guys, meaning like my family?
Mhm.
No.
Like
Just
always, like still
out of
Catholic?
culture, and we go to church for this, and the important days or dates, but not because of dedication, devotion. There's a huge difference. A lot of people go to church, whether it's Catholic, Christians, or any other type of um, denomination. I would say a large number of people go for the ritual, for the routine, for we gotta get to church on Sundays or whichever day they go to church. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that. They're looking, they're searching. Just because they go to church doesn't mean they're
Devout.
devout, but also not just that. It's more like doesn't mean that they have fully found God,
Okay.
which is an interesting thing, huh, to think about.
No, they're just hypocrites.
Don't say that.
It is. I mean,
So you're calling yourself a hypocrite,
no, because I've never said I believe in God.
but you went to church
Yeah, because I was forced to.
every single time?
The other times I was out of. So one thing I like about churches, um, is the message the pastor gives
Huh.
when it's a really good pastor.
Okay.
Um, like, I'm like, man, that's a nice message. Like, I understand what you're saying. But then when they start singing, dancing, clapping, or they go into their sermon stuff, I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this stuff.
We don't dance.
Right? So I've
There's
gone
beautiful songs that are, obviously for the whole purpose of just, in any belief system, there's a whole, glorifying God in their way.
Sure.
So you find that in Christianity, they do stand up, dance, clap, all that. It's different. Every belief system is different in that sense, what they do, the ritualistic part of it.
Yeah, my brother Mike and I have talked about it, where um, the pastor, when it's a really good pastor, it's a really good message. And message meaning it's a life message. It's not a message like of the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You mean like practical day-to-day message that you could use in your life?
Yeah, it makes you. It's made me think, right? It's made me think, and so I've gone to Christian churches, Catholic churches, the ones that dance, the ones that don't dance, the ones that play music.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've gone to synagogues, like I've gone to Jewish centers, because it's, again, there's some wisdom there.
Mm-hmm.
there has to be some wisdom in a book that's been around for 2,000 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think so. There's a reason why this is like the most read book, the most published book.
Well, have you read it?
No. Parts of it. Um, parts of it.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine, Believer Mike, so shout out to Believer Mike, he gave me an analogy that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Because I told him I've always tried to read the Bible from start to finish. I've tried to read the dang Bible. I even have the Audible of James Earl Jones reading the Bible.
So you've gone deep in there, and you were trying to deny that you did it. Oh.
I look at it. No. I've never denied anything. It's just I'm not a spiritual person. I'm like trying to find the logic in all the stuff that's there. I'm trying to find a way to wrap my head around it,
Around God.
Right, which is not the right way, according to you and according to a lot of people, right? Like you gotta attack this from your heart.
Not according to me, not according to people, I would say, according to how Jesus came to teach us.
According to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he said, look, it's like a manual to fix a car.
Okay.
Right? If there's something wrong with your spark plugs, for example,
mm-hmm.
you open up the table of contents and you go to a certain section to read about that. You're not going to start reading the manual from start to finish. Mm-hmm. You're not going to start reading about how the windows work and how the tires work and how the tire pressure works to try to find the answer you're looking for. There's certain passages that will help you understand it. It's not written, like a novel from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's the challenge with a lot of people like you, like not like me, but a lot of people just want to read the Bible start to finish. That's not how you read it. It's like, where are you in life? Like,
but you said you try to read it from the beginning.
Oh yeah, and I can never get past the damn names and how long they lived and so and so.
It's a story.
This guy had 20 kids and he lived to 900 years old, and
20
then
wives.
Yeah, and I was like, oh gosh. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I've tried to read the Bible. I have. I've tried to listen to it. I've been to places that teach. I think pastors and spiritual leaders, I think, just have a gift to communicate a message, like yourself. Right?
I wouldn't consider myself to that level. They're very knowledgeable. They have a lot of wisdom and knowledge.
You've helped me understand a lot of things.
I appreciate that.
So,
but
yeah.
I'm by no means knowledgeable about the entire Bible.
No, I'm not talking about the Bible.
Okay.
Like, with what you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is all about healing. That we are not taught from an early age that we do have an ability to heal ourselves, our families, our community. And that's not taught in church. Not the ones I've gone to, at least. My understanding is not taught in religion. And with what I do, in fact, people might think, religious people might think it's witchcraft, which obviously it's not. And I say obviously because there is no denying there's dark forces and light forces. There's no denying that. Whether you believe in God or not, there is a spirit world that we cannot see with our physical eyes, and you will never be able to explain it with your mind and, facts or this, and we'll never be able to explain that part. But just like there is, darkness, there's light. There are spiritual laws that exist, meaning people that work in the dark consciousness, yeah, they could be considered the people that do the spells and witchcraft and voodoo. the spiritual law is that they cannot say the name of God. They cannot say the name Jesus Christ. So that's how you can differentiate a healer of God or someone who's wishy-washy, doing witchcraft, things to harm people. They accept money to harm people. But then they present themselves as like, oh yeah, I can heal you. I can help you. I work with the light too. No, they don't. They can have images, but they will never be able to speak the name of God. They cannot say that.
It's like, I think back in the day, or even now, there's still charlatans, right?
Everywhere.
And I told you that when I came for my healing, right? I'm like, I'm not telling this girl jack shit. Let me see if she can figure it out. Because so Diego just went to El Salvador. And someone asked him about his tattoos.
Oh.
Right? And Diego was telling me, he was looking at me a certain way. Diego was a smart kid. Right?
He's a sweetheart.
He's a sweet kid. He's the sweetest out of all of us three.
Gifted too.
So if you guys want someone who's sweet, slide into Diego's DMs. Do not slide into mine because you might get some of this attitude.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a sweet kid, but he's a kid that knows how to protect himself. Right? Like my dad taught us several things, and one of the things is to protect ourselves. Us three taught ourselves how to protect each other physically, from harm. Because there's bad men out in this world.
You mean like physical harm?
Physical harm.
I'm glad that you're talking about this, because we also have to protect ourselves in the spiritual realm.
Right. I'll tell you about that one too. So as the guy was asking him these questions, his friend, Greg, was very quick to respond to the guy's questions. Like, oh, we're from California. Like, what part of California? Oh, Southern California. And just very, forthcoming with information. And I told him, it's not, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that with a stranger. You don't tell them exactly where you're from, especially when you're in another country, especially when you're blasted, especially when you see the guy looking at your tattoos, especially where he went. You got to be careful what you divulge because you don't know what they're peeling at or what their purpose is.
True.
So same thing with you. When you were doing your healing on me, you asked me, what did you see? What happened?
Oh yeah, during or after? Yeah, during I usually talk to the person. Yeah, I'm usually asking what are you seeing? What are you feeling?
I told you.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. Keep doing your thing. I'll tell you later. I don't want, because of that charlatan, right? That person that is very smart. Very smart in picking up clues.
You're so cynical, my friend.
I am.
Yeah. And I say that in the most respectful way.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm not easily offended.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Yeah. So I'll tell you the purpose of that later, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying anything. Keep doing your thing. If you're so good at it.
I don't come across that. I hope I didn't come across that.
No.
But I know what you're saying. You're saying, show me what you're good at, and I won't say anything, and prove, because you're all about proving to you.
Prove it to me.
Yeah, I got it.
Handle. Let's go. But immediately after I would see something in my
third eye.
Okay, my third eye. I was going to say in my healing moment. So I would see things, right? I would see things. I had my eyes closed, and you were. I can't even joke about this stuff.
Why?
So because you're gonna hit me. So
I'm glad I'm wearing boots right now. So
I had my eyes closed, and you were doing your thing. and I would see things in my mind, right? I'm like, I would see certain things.
Mhm.
One of them being, you were doing a healing part on my heart,
Oh, yeah.
and
Super closed off, of course. Guarded.
right.
Mhm.
And so the thing is, and
I don't know that part of you. I mean, we didn't.
there's a lot you don't know.
Oh, well, I know that.
Yeah.
But whether you like it or not, things get revealed to me in that session. So
There you go.
yeah.
So I saw this
Mhm.
void, like it's like beautiful blackness, and in that void there was an amber light in the middle of it, like as if it was a room, like if it was just an empty room that would go on forever in every single direction, but within there was a light,
Mhm.
and it looked like a square, a door, fire, um, amber, right? So
Mhm.
amber meaning orange and yellows, like a sun, but
Mhm.
not a ball. Like it was like kind of squared shape. And so
In the center of the darkness.
in the center of the darkness,
Mhm.
meaning there was blackness way beyond it, and then blackness in every single direction,
Except this light in the center.
except this side in the center. And then,
Hmm.
from the heavens,
Yeah.
there was this warrior that was falling down, right?
Warrior.
A
I remember
warrior,
you saying
a
that.
fighter.
Yeah.
He was mostly samurai knight type.
Mhm.
He was a beast of a man, a beautiful man that I could not see,
Mhm.
but he was a protector of that light. He was not going to let anybody touch that light. And so
Hmm.
as I'm looking at it with my eyes closed, he fell from the top in
Mhm.
front of the light, huge. And he fell like that he falls in the, like, action heroes fall in movies. Like he falls and he lands on a knee, like one knee, and he has a sword and the blade just hits the ground, like resonating vibration.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, as I was seeing that,
Mhm.
and it happens, you're like, don't close yourself off. Don't. I'm like, wait, what the hell?
I'm like, I can only go as deep in your heart as you let me in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, maybe she is a little bit real. So
Just
there's,
a little bit.
yeah, and a lot of that happened.
I know.
A lot
And
of
I know that probably there were many things that you didn't even actually share with me
no, I
until
told you everything.
you did. Oh,
I'm
okay.
not scared.
No, not that you're scared, but maybe you went home like with a couple things that you're like, I'm not gonna say that. Maybe I thought that. I don't know if you.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
But I remember you sharing many beautiful things that happened, and that one was very significant for you to know. I told you I don't work alone. I work with angels, archangels, spirit guides of high frequency in God's consciousness, meaning there's different levels. Like I told you, there's different levels of darkness, different levels of light. So, I mean, I'm only an instrument of God's light. You know, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a reader. I'm not going to tell you your fortune. I'm not going to tell you
My lotto numbers?
I'm not going to tell you who you're going to marry, how many children. That's not my job.
What is your job?
Being an instrument of God, the bearer of light, to help people uncover their own light. We all have that light within. That light that you saw is the light of your heart that you have covered so much. And it's the only way I'm gonna explain it. I'm sorry, but it's dark. It's darkness. It's darkness. What is darkness? Unforgiveness, grief, sadness, shame, guilt, all of that. That's not of the light. That's not of God. So our beautiful light in our heart gets dimmed by that. It gets, throughout our lifetime. Since we're kids, yeah, the whole thing of the trauma healers or the trauma, therapists, they're just trying to remove that from the person's heart, their mind and that imprint that it made. And so that's what that light is. We all have that light of God in our heart, whether you want to believe it's from God or not. It's there. My job is just simply to be that instrument with God's light. Like I told you, I work with my hands, in the sense of like the anointments that I carry a lot of responsibility in my hands. I would say the light of God, comes through because I've gone through that process of cleansing and purification. It really is purification to be able to be that vessel for God. So when the person's here, you are literally, I work with the Holy Trinity and the Holy Triangle. You're literally stepping into that light. It's a different consciousness. You're stepping there, you have your eyes closed, and little by little, you get elevated. Your spirit. That's why some people are like, I see the stars, I feel like I'm floating, because your spirit's being elevated and infused with so much light of Christ, which, by the way, I work in the Christ consciousness, which is a completely different light, healing light. Okay. The reason I called my services the highest healing energy, because the highest healing comes from God. And what does that mean? Our creator, that light within, you can't duplicate it, you can't replicate it. It's that light. You have that light. Everyone has that light. You can choose to cover it with darkness. That's okay. That warrior that you said, stepped in front, that's who you created. And that's okay. That's who you created. You choose to live your life that way. That's okay. But our hearts were not meant to carry that. It's meant to just have the light of God, which fosters compassion, appreciation, kindness, understanding. It just fosters peace within, so that we could obviously help others in so many different ways. I'm not saying that, if somebody has darkness in their heart, they can't be helpful. You are very helpful. I'm talking about within yourself, your spirit. How can you, my friend, move forward in life in manifesting your beautiful, wishes and goals to the highest degree if we're operating from fear? You may not agree with me. There's only two energies that exist on the planet: love, fear. Out of fear, this is where ego exists. Love, God. Fear, ego. Darkness, here. Light, here.
I'm over here.
I'm
over here.
No, you 100%. Said beautiful darkness.
It's a beautiful darkness.
So I know you're here.
And I love it.
Well, there you go. Okay, so this is for the people that don't love that. Hold on. This is the thing. No, I really do want to say, we have to fight for our light. I do really want to say that in all seriousness. You think that you, my friend, I told you, you're gifted. I told you this. How would I know this? Who would come tell me that? Hey, by the way, Jorge has a gift. You can see.
So I'll say a couple things in regards to my air quotes gift. So
okay.
I've seen a lot my entire life,
and it scares you.
It scares the shit out of me. Right? Where things that are not supposed to be there.
Things that are not supposed to be there. Darkness?
So, like, we're in a room and there's a bunch of physical things here that I can see and touch, and, they're real. But then if something appears and disappears, it's like, it shouldn't be there.
Like the story you were telling me about that shadow that came in and scared the bejesus out of me. Okay.
Yeah.
And you saw it moving on the wall and this and that. It's coming towards you. But then yet you're saying it's a beautiful darkness. Why do you think this is coming towards you?
So that was not a beautiful darkness. There is beautiful darkness, but that was not. That was... So this is the thing, right? So
you're unintentionally inviting it, just so you know.
Come visit me, fools. So
You want it?
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I really, really don't.
Why do you think it visits you?
I really, really don't. Because I'm a jerk. Again, I'm not trying to be nice about it. I'm a jerk about things, like in a certain way.
I think you're just trying to be silly to make light of things that scare you to understand or dig deeper.
Yes and no. Right. And so you asked when you were doing your healing, what was like the moment that I remember encountering something? Like, when was the first time? Right?
That I asked you?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You answered. And I told you it was between 3rd and 5th grade.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I remember that, yeah.
For some reason, 5 years old came up to you, and then, we could talk about that piece. But the moment I remember, the time that I remember, the time I was describing, which I never told you about.
You didn't tell me anything.
Yeah. All right. I didn't tell you. So we used to live in this house, and it had the first bedroom down the hallway. And you used to, like, it was this first bedroom, and I remember being asleep in it and hearing footsteps in the living room. I've told you that. Well, I remember hearing footsteps in the living room, being like, what the hell? But then every time I would hear the footsteps, the vibrations on my feet would happen with every footstep. So footstep, like 1 foot, footstep, my other foot, footstep, footstep. I'm like, and then it was like the bottom of my feet, like as if I was out there walking around. What the fuck is this? And then I started to hear those footsteps go down the hallway towards my room, and it unlocked my door, and it came in my room, and it came over me, and I felt it over me, and it talked to me, and it said what it said.
And you said, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Exactly. It spoke to me here.
You're like, oh, I missed you so much.
I'm like, get the fuck out of my room. I was a child, And it went back over me, and it locked the door and it closed it. And that was probably the moment. I mean, I could probably remember more, but that was one of the most vivid moments between 3rd and 5th grade. Pictures would get cut up, like at the base foot of my bed. Like, so many things have happened that I've seen
throughout your life, right?
Throughout my entire life. And so I don't tell people these things, like, especially someone like yourself, right? When you're doing something, it's like, I don't want her to latch onto a story.
Fair enough.
And then tell me, oh, it's because of this. Or
right.
Because it's like,
yeah,
I know what you're doing. I already said it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that sense. I would probably have done the same thing. Yeah.
But with you, I'm like, oh, interesting.
How does she know that?
Interesting. And so it was something you were just, and I know I interrupted you, I'm sorry, but the thing is that while I was here, I wasn't here, and I left here. All right, I went somewhere else, and I felt like
usually what happens.
I was gone. I don't know what felt for days or hours.
In the session, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it usually happens that way. Yeah, people come back out of like once the last step is I bring your spirit back into alignment with your physical body. And once I take you out of that consciousness, that light, once you step out and then you open your eyes and you're back, people are like, what just happened? They're usually like looking around like, oh my God, I'm here, I'm back. What just happened? But in a beautiful beautiful way. Yeah. I
didn't feel like that when you woke me up. I felt like that during it.
Oh, gotcha.
When I went to go see your friend, Jesus.
My friend. Not your friend?
Nah, he ain't my friend.
Why is he not your friend?
I'm being a jerk. I'm understand that I'm kidding.
I understand that, but you work so hard in pushing it away, and you are so loving and welcoming to the darkness. Hold on, may I take this off?
Yeah, of course. Here, I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Go for it. This is the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, which was his language. El Padre Nuestro, our Father, right? That's this. It's such a beautiful song. And when I first heard this song, I kid you not, I bawled like a baby. I kid you, it just like awoke a deep, ancient memory. Literally fell down to my knees crying. That's the beautiful thing. I know you said earlier in the beginning, like you said, I envy people like you and, you know, the faith and all that. And I'm like, but you have a choice. You can choose to feel, you can choose to explore that light, that ember light that you saw in your heart, but you don't want to. That's your choice that you're making, and it's okay. My job is not to convince anyone about who God is. My job is to help you cleanse that darkness, cleanse and remove cords of attachment, blocks, hang-ups, the trauma, the hurt and pain, all that stuff that we carry in our hearts, so that our own light can shine. Every single one of us has that light. And so in doing that, your soul knows, your heart knows the truth of God. So I don't have to harp on it. You will know in your heart. You will know that it's going to awaken within you. If you choose to, you have free will. God gave you free will. I can't mess with your free will, you know? I can't like get the chancla. You gotta believe in God. That's your choice. How many lifetimes is it going to take for you to finally allow the light within to shine?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Something like that, right?
Yeah, I actually have it on my healing playlist. And of course you roll your eyes.
Yeah, I like that song actually.
Yeah.
I just don't sing it out loud. So it's
another little version of that. You're so funny. Jorge, I know you don't want your little light to shine.
My light shines everywhere I go.
You shine your light when you choose to, but then you also want to not be exposed. You don't want to be vulnerable.
No, I don't.
Why is that?
Because then feelings and emotion and tears come out.
Oh my God. What's wrong with that?
It's weak.
According to your mind.
100%. Yeah. The mind of a man. If you're a woman, then sure.
Women, this is the reason why it's hard dating out there.
This is why it's
too much in their heads and not in their heart.
Of course, I'm a man, and I'm not a beta.
Men cry too.
Of course we do. Of course. You know, but I'm not a. I just.
No, I agree that, you know, we're definitely two different creatures, men and women, and that's how it should be. We're not even going to get into that, but my point is that I agree. And I understand where men come from. Like, no, I'm a man. I don't want to have to look into my emotions and my heart. What? No, that's just too much. But how does that serve you?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Tell me.
So it's bottling everything up.
Yeah.
Sweeping it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
No, it's not.
Right. So I've talked to many men. And they're fucking struggling. Ricardo and I talked about it.
Men need a lot of healing, but you guys need to let us help you. You need to let your women help you.
No.
Okay.
No, hold on. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you know what the hell you're doing.
No. I'm talking about that nurturing side of us, that loving side of us, that compassionate side of us. That is why do you look so confused?
I'm listening.
But you look confused. Tell me why you're confused.
I'm not confused, but I'm listening.
You don't agree with it.
Correct.
Okay, go. Tell me why.
But you haven't even finished your thought.
It's okay.
I might
I interrupted you.
I might end up agreeing.
But I interrupted you. You said you talk to men and they need to not bottle things up.
We need, it's difficult for us to express ourselves, right? If you're a traditional man. A traditional man means like you're the provider. You are, financially the provider, the one that carries the weight. The one that says, I protect my woman, I protect my children against everything and anything, which also means I protect them against the own shit in my own head.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. Diego. All right, let's use Diego.
Not Juan Diego.
No, not Juan Diego. My own brother. I had to tell him a couple of years ago to grow the fuck up and be a man.
Why is that?
Because he tells my mom everything.
Okay.
Stop telling my mom everything.
Okay.
So here was my thought.
I agree with you on that one.
So here was my thought. I said, look, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean the whole other part, Diego. Sorry, not the other part. Just the whole... How old was he when you said this, by the way?
Oh, I don't know. A couple years ago.
Okay, and the only reason I agree with that is because I experienced that through a man I was dating. Okay. And it made it very difficult in our relationship. A grown man having to tell his mother every single thing, almost like asking for permission. But he was operating out of that 10-year-old wounded boy. But go ahead.
It's there's certain things in life that you just need to figure out on your own.
Okay.
Men or women.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? You have to go through it.
Yes.
Solitary, like on your own. Yeah. And when you share something with someone, they're inadvertently carrying that burden with you, depending on who that person might be. As a parent, it's almost impossible to not carry that burden with their children if your child is going through something.
Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's a lot that I go through, me personally, a lot that's going on in my life now that, like, no one knows, right? Friends, family, anybody. And trying to tell him, like, Diego, you gotta figure it out, man. You gotta do your best to figure it out. My mom's not gonna be there the rest of your life. I'm not gonna be there the rest of your life. And so going back to like the challenge of a man sharing things with his wife, for example, or with his partner. A lot of us feel that way. We feel, and again, these are conversations with a lot of men and a lot of dudes that I know. But it's like, dude, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling emotionally. I'm struggling with, let's say, finances. I'm struggling with keeping shit together. But then they also don't want to burden their partner, right? So I don't think, and again, I know you weren't able to finish your statement, but I don't think that it's something that you always need to share with your partner. But you definitely got to figure out a way to get it out. Definitely, maybe it's whether it's a psychologist, whether it's a therapist, whether it's writing it down, like that, burying it under the rug or bottling it up. It must have an outlet. it must have an outlet. And I don't think it must be your woman. I don't think it must be your partner. It would be nice, that would be ideal if your partner was understanding. If your partner,
I was going to say that the partner needs to be understanding, of course,
most,
and not use it against you. And I think that's the fear of men to open up to their woman, that the fear is she's going to see me as weak and she might use this against me.
and a lot of them will.
Right.
A lot of them will.
That's where women have dropped the ball. And so that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
But I do feel, going back to what I said, I do stand by that. I do stand that there's beauty in vulnerability. And for a healthy relationship, I mean, I'm not saying like, you know, even healthy relationships, we're human beings. We have our ups and downs. So I'm talking about healthy in the sense of like not having the woman use that against her man. Okay. There should be that level of vulnerability. The man doesn't have to, you know, share their deepest secrets, because I know you guys feel like I can only share that with, you know, my homeboys,
not even my homeboys. I'm not telling them shit.
Well, that's you specifically, but
I'm
a lot of
guarded.
men are, yeah, and that's you specifically, but a lot of men feel more comfortable speaking to their guy friends, you know, your brothers and all that. But I think that in a healthy relationship, you have to have that vulnerability. That's what creates that bond, that deeper bond. You're ride or die. I mean, why wouldn't you want to share that with them?
I agree. It's I agree that it would be nice.
Mm-hmm. And you did say that it was ideal.
It's ideal.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so my opinion of a great partner would just be someone that you can just be yourself with. That
I think everyone wants that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
not be judged, not be
well,
have that used against you.
It's you're lost with them in your world together anywhere you are. And that's all that matters. Like, you could be you can be in a concert, for example, 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that matters is that person next to you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to experience.
And so, like, going through life with someone that is going to be there with you through the ups and downs, and it's like the vows of marriage, right? Through rich or poor, sickness and in health, and all that good stuff. I don't think a lot of people are willing to do that.
I'll tell you why. A lot of relationships are failing nowadays and have been failing because men and women alike are mentally and spiritually weak. And when we're not mentally or spiritually strong, we could easily be swayed by this distraction, by that distraction, even though you want to be here, even though you're doing this, and let me go ahead and do this instead. And knowing that that could, and I'm not just talking about infidelity, I'm talking about many different distractions, that don't allow the man or the woman to like foster that deeper relationship and that bond, that unbreakable bond that we all wish we had with a partner. And I'm talking about family influences. I'm talking about, work comes first before, it's just so many different things that we put ahead of our relationship. In reality, this is the most important thing. Whether you're married or not, if this is if this is your person and you decide to make a life with that person, whether that life has an expiration date or not, right? 10 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. But why do you want to be in a relationship to not go all in? And if you're all in, why are you being so weak and distracted by this and that and not making this your priority? Men and women alike.
Yeah, there's this gentleman. I told you about Gnosis briefly. And a long time ago, maybe I was, maybe 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more than that. I was having trouble in a relationship I was in. And the analogy he gave me was the ocean.
Hmm.
And he said, look, you're on the shoreline wetting your feet while she's out there swimming.
Drowning. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, she jumped in
Yeah.
and swam. And you're there like wetting your feet.
Yeah.
He said, it's not a relationship.
No.
I'm like, fuck. You're right.
You're like, let the light come in. Now you invited the light. You're like, dang, I was so blind by the darkness. Thank you for the light.
I'm like, you're right, man.
Yeah.
And so
mm-hmm.
it's like life is going to find a way to beat you.
Yes, sir. Not only life, but God. In the sense of not beat you, but in the sense of like God's going to find a way to get your attention.
Yeah. He has a way of making things. It's like you're never going to win. Like the whole thing.
Why do you want to win?
That's the whole point. I want to win. I'm very competitive.
You want to compete against God?
If he exists. So.
But in many ways, you have told me he does.
In many ways, yes. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm an oxymoron.
I know that. I told you that without even knowing you. I looked at you. I'm like, you're a walking oxymoron.
So the reason I gave up drinking, one of the reasons I gave up drinking,
mm-hmm.
I said, I'm tired, like physically and emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like everything fucking hurt. My body literally hurt. My wallet literally hurt. Everything was so painful. I was tired of fighting.
Hmm.
And I accepted defeat. I lost the fight against alcohol. And I was not willing to fight anymore. I'm like, I'm fucking done, bro. Like,
when was that?
I was like, I don't know, a long time ago. 10, 12 years ago, 15, 13 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing like what you're saying about God. Like, why are you fighting it? Well, I'm still willing to fight. I'm still fighting him.
Well, why though?
Because I don't want, like.
This is interesting.
Everything I say is interesting.
This guy.
Because I don't think it's like saying, look, if I really want to dive into the whole God thing, I'm gonna pull out everything in regards to God.
Do you remember what I told you last night about Greg Braden?
About the DNA stuff? Uh-huh.
That's literally written in your DNA.
You know what I thought about that last night?
You can look it up.
Oh, I will eventually.
Since you like proof.
I was gonna last night.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna look stuff up, and then
to like disprove God.
Yeah.
To contradict what we're gonna talk about today.
No.
Just kidding.
About what we had talked about last night.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. And even like the ET stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Where I was like, man, see, this is why I don't like talking about none of this shit, because they're gonna come right now, they're gonna pull at my feet. I'm like, screw this. I was like, I need to go to bed. Don't start looking stuff up. Let me distract my mind, because my mind will automatically start going there.
Yeah.
And like, it's a frequency.
I told her this last night. We should stop talking about it, because then we become antennas.
Okay. But your approach is a little different than my thought, right? So I'm just like,
I'm glad it's different.
Yeah. I'm like, stop thinking about this, because I know how to invite this stuff in. I know how this goes,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want none of that shit tonight. So,
But then
but
you like darkness and you think it's beautiful and you don't want your own inner light to shine, which is why you created that warrior in front of your heart. You're like, I'm not letting you in. Because
no.
when you thought, how could I have seen that? Well, some people can see that in how could I have known that you were seeing that warrior right in front of your heart? And I was like, hello, let me in.
Yeah, you
But
also.
yeah, but you're so protected over your light. But it's, remember, I think it was you that I told. I mean, obviously, I do a lot of healings for different people, men, women. But I remember telling someone, and yeah, we can go ahead and close ourselves up to protect ourselves. But then we're not letting our own light shine through. So who are you really locking up in there or protecting? Or do you know what I mean? Like, who are you really keeping out of your heart? And in reality, you're locking yourself up along with darkness.
My mom would say that as a kid.
Uh-huh.
She goes, you would, talk at an early age. Um, but you would always get in your crib and you would stand up and you would yell out, Vengan a sacarme! Vengan a sacarme! So right now when you were saying that, I'm locking myself up.
Uh-huh.
And she would also tell me like your dad would get home from university or the bank and then he'd go, try to tuck you in. And she goes, I don't know, like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I would just hear banging. Boom, boom, boom. She goes, it was you with your blanket walking down the stairs because your dad fell asleep. And you were just as a kid, like you would walk down the stairs just like hitting the wall, like with your blanket, and be like, yes, hello to me. Like she was basically like
Uh-huh.
you'd put your dad to sleep and then you'd come
Yeah.
downstairs to like hang out with me. This is like probably when I was like 2 or 3. Um, so yeah, it's funny. Uh, it's I consider myself a very vulnerable person.
Hmm.
I consider myself very open.
Hmm. You're an oxymoron. So
I am.
at
I
the
am.
same time, you're very closed off.
Exactly. Exactly. So a lot of the stuff I share on here, people don't share. A lot of the things that I've opened up about
Mm-hmm.
and that I've said,
Mm-hmm.
people don't share. Men or women.
Okay. A lot of the things meaning like what?
I mean, just look at our conversation, right?
And what,
Like
you seeing ghosts, you seeing angels, you seeing the
ghosts,
darkness, inviting
angels.
the darkness.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
not believing in religion and not believing in God or having my doubts about God or
Mm-hmm.
this offends people
Yeah.
that are not open. But you know what, Mave, like I could care less. I'm not doing this podcast to um to appease anybody. I love talking to people
Yeah.
and
I see that in you. Mm-hmm.
and knowing different things about them.
And that's why I told you I'm also not doing this to go ahead and convince people that they need to believe in God. But what I do in the healing work that I do, because I do work in the Christ consciousness, which is the highest frequencies of light, my job is to help people. And I told you this, you know this, you said it too, like for people that are seeking this is great. Yeah, people get guided. They will go to another website so many times and something tells them, nope, go here. That's what the purpose of these healings are, to help you legit overcome yourself, clear, cleanse, let your inner light shine through, and then you find God in your own way. But I will not waver in the fact that God is God and there's spiritual laws, and you could choose to respect them or not. but everything has a consequence. Do I believe in past lives? Yes. And so me being a healer and talking to you and your resistance and that whole thing of, like you said, almost anger towards God.
Yeah.
I truly believe, and I feel it. It comes from past lives for you. You're
I was
angry.
probably Judas.
Hey, listen, I don't know who you were. But you have that unresolved issue, and it sounds, and it, honestly, I'm telling you this not as a BS or anything. It really, truly feels like so deep in your soul, like that's something from like past lives, and that's okay. I mean, you may or may not resolve it in this lifetime.
I was a witch, remember?
I mean, I believe that.
I did try to light you on fire.
All right, so tell people about that. So during the healing session I offered,
yeah,
which is
I lit a match.
It's a beautiful session, and all of a sudden, this kid is trying to burn me or light me up on fire.
Pretty much. So
spiritual fire.
So my whole thought process was like, oh, okay, you think I'm gifted then? Let me show you what's up.
That's your ego taking control.
Pretty much.
Well,
I'm very, you know.
But what you don't know is my spirit guide with the eagle protects me.
Yeah, the guy that took me up to fly to go see God,
He sure did.
all of a sudden he's right there, literally right there. So
you got to tell that story too, but go ahead.
So, as you were doing your thing, right?
Cleansing, removing blocks, and
cutting stuff, and I said, well, this girl says I'm gifted. I was like, let me see if I can light her on fire.
That's not what I meant, though.
Yeah. But I imagined, so when I was a kid, my uncle would always, I told you, like, try to teach you meditation.
Oh, yeah.
The Gnosticism stuff. And so it was always imagining the light, imagining the light that traveled, through your fingers, at every fingertip, to your heart. Imagining there was this exercise he would have me do, and
he's very in tune and also very, very gifted from what you've shared with me.
Yeah, my uncle's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
I would love to meet him.
He's my Indiana Jones.
Oh.
Like, it's funny. We were talking about the superheroes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
She-Ra. Which I had
you had to
Google who the hell She-Ra was. But someone said Indiana Jones, and there's a tattoo of Indiana Jones I want, and like this arm is tattoos for my father and my grandfather. I was in Indians, but Indiana Jones is my uncle. Like the smart, nerdy, cool, like archaeological history finder. He's just so smart, dude. He taught me how to play chess. He jumped on top of me when a roof fell over us in the earthquake in El Salvador. Oh,
wow.
My uncle's dope. And I told him, I was like, I'm going to have you on and you're going to talk about aliens. He was like, ¿Qué camión? ¿Qué es esto? So yeah, he calls me camión or trailer.
Why is that?
Because I was a little tank as a kid.
Trailer.
Okay. So,
but going back to you lighting me up.
So I imagined you on fire, and I imagined us in a ball of flame.
What was the purpose of?
To let you know what's up.
Here's this nice girl trying to do a healing on me.
Not in a bad way, though.
Well, I'm gonna go and tell her what's up.
Not like in a bad way. Like, what's up? Like,
did my fairies put you up to this?
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna say it. Oh my god. What's up, Mike? So I was trying to light her on fire.
Light her up on fire.
Yeah. So I tried to light you on fire.
God. See, that's you in a past life trying to light me up because they used to burn witches back in the day, right? So you were like, I'm gonna burn. But
I was on fire too in my imagination.
That was you being a witch trying to burn the poor innocent here, trying to help you.
And then I got tired of thinking about it, and so.
Oh, because you were using your mind power, you mean?
I mean, what other power would I have? I wasn't trying to tap into
your heart.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
You're like, no.
My uncle would tell me that. I told you as a child, and as an adult, He's like, he's like, you're stuck up here.
Yeah.
He's like, you live here.
So then I'm not the only one that's told you that. And
No.
I've only told you this in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I've never talked to you before.
No.
How many, 2-3 weeks, right?
Something like that.
That's it. Yeah, I've never talked to you. I think I've seen your brother in like different,
in passing,
different like events. But I've never had a conversation with you. You've never had a conversation with me. So I had no idea who you were, what you were about. So then I'm telling you, hey, get out of your head, go into your heart. And then you've heard this your whole life.
Yeah, my uncle.
From your gifted uncle.
Yeah, my uncle would always tell me that. He's like, think with your heart. Or not think with your heart, but let your heart carry you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it ain't happening. That's for...
It's your choice.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's going back to the whole thing of why is it that men and women have so many problems? Like, a lot of men like myself, it's like, we have a misconception that being vulnerable, being open, and thinking with your heart is a sign of weakness. Right?
So you agree and you admit that it's a misconception?
To some degree.
You're like, I'm not ready to admit that.
No, I mean, I can make both arguments, and the answer is yes, 100%. It is 100%. It is a sign of weakness, and then 100%.
It's a misconception.
And it is a misconception, right? Life, it doesn't exist in the black and white; it exists in the gray. And so, you can have black and white views, but like, that's not where things happen, bro. You know, so...
According to you.
According to me.
Where do things happen?
In the gray. Not everything is so black and white. Not everything is like, oh, it's weak, or oh, it's righteous. It's the right
There are spiritual laws, and in the spiritual laws, there is no gray area. It is what it is. I am that I am. I am God. I am the Lord. And so with that, I'm going to tell you, we can mess around and find out, when we die, which you will. There are a few things up in my mind right now that kind of tying it back in from like earlier conversation you were talking about darkness and light and men and women and, all of that. So what if we never knew that in this space between you and I, it's not empty? What if we never knew that? It's been scientifically proven there's matter. Yeah? So how does that help us, right? Why was that discovered? What was the purpose of them even exploring? And I'm talking about the scientists back in the day, right? What was the purpose of that? We're always trying to understand our world around us, who we are, where did we come from? What does this even mean? Why are we here on earth? What's the purpose of life? And we're never going to be able to understand God with our head. But I think my point with that whole thing is just imagine if that was never discovered, that there's matter in between you and I. There's no empty space. Not here, not in the universe. There's no empty space. Everything occupies, the space is occupied, right? There's no empty space. Meaning, it's the same thing with our soul. It's occupying this vehicle, this body right now. But when this vehicle dies, ceases to exist. It doesn't end there. It doesn't. And how do we know this? I mean, that energy cannot be destroyed. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you know that?
Either recreated or destroyed?
Correct. God in the beginning, and I'm not talking biblical. I'm not. I don't speak in that way. I speak more in the sense of understanding God with our heart. Not because I told you who God is, not because the Bible tells you who God is, not because of religion's telling you who God is, but in your heart. Who is God to you, right? In the beginning, when all the souls were created, we had a little too much fun in this planet. And we created ego. God didn't create ego. We created ego. There's so many things in the conversations that we had earlier. You were asking about the war and why is God allowing this and why. We created the ego. We fooled around too much. We played around too much. I'm talking about ancient times, not Egyptian, not Mesopotamia. I'm talking way before that, when we first came here. So we had so many abilities, but we chose to mess around. I'm going to say a little bit about this because it kind of ties into the work I do and the healings that I do. The healings that I do are called spiritual shamanic healings, in the sense that the Native Americans knew to honor all God's creation. They knew that spirit of nature, the trees had a spirit. They knew that the air we breathe has a spirit. Waters are living waters. They have a spirit. So they honor it in that sense, that is exactly how I work. I work with the Christ consciousness, the light of Christ. All my healings are with prayers in directly to God. It's important for people to know that, okay? But also honoring the spirit of the rock, the spirit of water. And that's where the shamanic part comes in, because the natives knew. They knew this. Everything was living. Then going back to the initial creation, when God gave us the vehicle of our human body, we knew inherently that we were beings of light and, the highest frequencies, and we could create and we could do this. Of course, we're made out of that spark of God. A little tiny spark compared to the vastness of God's light. Well, in playing around, we were going little by little way too far off the deep end, and we created our ego. We separated ourselves so much from our creator, from our creator, our source, so much. Now we're thinking we don't need God, it's just us here. Let's do this on our own. And ancient civilizations kept doing that, doing that over and over again. And in creating the ego, that's the evil that every culture talks about. That's the evil that, even cartoons, you have the angel and the little devil here. Who are you going to listen to, your heart or your mind, your head? It's there. The ego was created. Spiritual laws had to be put in place. And God gave us free will, free choice. Okay, my dear, I give you free will. You can continue playing in that beautiful blue planet. You can continue believing that you're separate from me. You can continue believing that I'm not real. You can continue believing that I don't inherently love you. Vete a jugar solito. Go play around, right? But there are consequences to these spiritual laws that I'm going to put forth here. You have a choice. And then these spiritual laws exist. Some cultures call it karma. Everything has cause and effect. You can choose darkness, that's okay. You can choose light. You can choose everything in between. So the reason why, and religion, church is not going to talk about past life. They're not going to talk about spirit guides of high frequency. Ties it into the whole, why does God allow this? It's not God. We did this to ourselves. And I know you want to know how. Like, what do you mean we did this to ourselves? We're punishing ourselves? Yeah, we did this to ourselves. We're literally fighting. You mentioned the Middle East and what's happening about who's right about God. Unfortunately, innocent people suffer on both ends because the ego is out of control. God does not live in our mind. God lives in our hearts. And as long as we continue to have that resistance of, I'm not going to let my light shine through, or, I'm not going to operate from my heart. I'm going to operate from my mind. Then we're going to be still in the wilderness of our ego. And when we operate out of ego, things get out of control, whether that grand scale or something tiny, chaotic in your life. Meaning, you have that choice, the light or the darkness. Honestly, I feel like as human beings, we're kind of addicted to pain. We're kind of addicted to suffering. I wish there was no suffering. I think you saw that post yesterday. But we're kind of addicted to the story of that hurt and pain, the drama, the trauma. It's like we're addicted to that.
Somos tóxicos.
La tóxica y el tóxico, todos.
Pégueme, mami, pégueme.
And but then you cry and like, why is this happening? Why, is my life so crazy? I have so many things. You have no idea come on. What are we inviting? Are we inviting darkness or the light? Is that something that, does it make sense how I'm explaining it? Or I know you have a lot of questions in your mind and you're ready to contradict me. I can read you. You know that. No, just kidding. No, but the reason, and this is probably more for you to understand that, not like for everybody out there, but okay, just know this. Please cut that out.
Cut it out.
Our minds, okay. The ego, again, operates out of fear, and it creates so many layers to survive. When you come see me for a healing session, the first thing I do after I bless you, I go into your energy field and I go into your mind consciousness first to clear it, to calm you down, to quiet your mind first. The first thing I do, even because most people obviously find me online, know that I work with God, so they already believe in God in whatever way. I've had Christians come see me, Catholics, of course, Muslims, atheists. We've had atheists become healers. And the reason I go for the mind first is to quiet. Don't interfere. Let the light come through so it can get to your heart. Let me help you unload that. And then once I calm your mind, clear that, kind of like, I don't want to say bypass it, but then I go through that level, then I can get to your heart, to the emotional trauma, to the age of cause. Did it happen at 5 years old? Did it happen at 10 years old? So that trauma made an imprint on you, and it's within your dimensions of your heart and the mind too, of course, and our cellular memory. So it's somewhere in the body. And you mentioned earlier, it's fine, something's trying to find, it needs men, you were talking about men, it needs to be expressed. It needs to be, same thing with that trauma, the impact, the trauma. And I don't mean like, oh, you got beat up or anything like that. I mean, like, could have been a scary movie. It could have been a bully at school, that those words made such an imprint on you that still now as an adult is holding you back, is affecting your day-to-day life. It's affecting the way you show up at work and your family. How can that be? It made an impact on you, in your mind, in your heart, in your cellular memory, and it lives there. And it just became, and so that, seed of that implant, or implant, that impact became bigger and bigger as you went through your life experiences, and they kind of like got fed, so to speak, and it grew and it grew and it grew. Now it's a living thing within you that's literally dominating your life. Which is why it's so important to receive healings, to process that, to unlock the realms, the dimensions within you that have locked all of that in. So when I start working on you, it's a layer and another layer, and I go deep, deep, deep. But you didn't let me go to your heart. And so that's, again, that's on you. Meaning, like, you have that choice to not explore your heart, and that's okay. But the purpose of these healings are to open up and let that go. And not only let the light of God come in and cleanse that away, but also let your own light shine through and become one with the light of God. Now we're talking about everything changes in that person's life. The way they handle, day-to-day challenges, situations, their relationships with their spouse, their children. They're operating more of that, more love, more compassion, more understanding, where something might have triggered you so bad. Now you have that understanding, like, okay, maybe I need to do things a little different. Maybe I should not say what my ego wants to say. And just operate from your heart. Operating from your heart is not weakness. It takes a lot of strength.
It takes strength to be gentle and kind.
And compassionate. It takes strength to be humble.
It's kind of like, so Jordan Peterson talks about, like, they ask him, do you believe in God? And sometimes Jordan Peterson is a little weirdo. But who? Jordan Peterson, he's a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
So he says, I act as if God exists. Like, and that is a very even difficult thing to say, because if God exists, there are so many things that are wrong. Like, so many things that are wrong, maybe like with the way I'm living, or maybe with the way I'm expressing myself. Like I know I'm messing that up, but he's the one that I posted where he talks about the Christmas tree. He's like, do you even know why you put up a Christmas tree?
Oh yeah, you showed me that yesterday. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he says it's like, it's the darkest time of the year, and that light that you're putting up on the tree is a significance of God, of Christ.
Light of the world, yeah.
Light and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
He actually does a breakdown of biblical versus biblical books, and he'll break it down psychologically. He does like lectures on it. He teaches about God and like the stories of them and how they apply psychologically, how God was created, in the mind. His
he thinks that we created God in our mind.
Their stories. He talks about like so basically Jesus is the ideal man. It's who we all should aspire to be.
You think that, or he's saying that?
He's saying that.
Okay.
It's who we all should aspire to be. So then he gives an example. He says, look, so through time, through years, through thousands of years, I mean, we've been around for millions of years as humans, right? So it's like you have this story, and then you start creating a story of what the ideal man would be, right? And so, but he is...
But an ideal man in what sense?
Morals, values. Now, he is a believer in Christ, the way he describes it. He is a believer in God, in Jesus and all that stuff.
Okay.
But he's also a clinical psychologist.
What does that mean? I mean, they can exist together.
Correct.
Okay.
He's a scientist that believes in God.
Okay.
Right. But he also explains the scientific part behind it. So I forgot what the hell I was saying.
I forgot your point. I don't know.
So it's like this thing about the things that you do, where even if I don't believe that anything that you did cured me,
Cured you of what though? See?
cured me of any of the negative spirits, negative ghost, or
What did I tell you at the end of the session? Was it at the end or days later that you chose to keep?
that I chose to keep some of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the things that you cut away.
Yeah.
Right?
There's energies and then there's spirit attachments, entity attachments, which exist in different dimensions.
So even if I didn't believe any of it,
Mm-hmm.
even if I was just like, this is not real.
You're like, yeah, no, that's not. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna give it energy. Uh-huh.
It doesn't hurt. Like I didn't get like.
Well, that's what your dad told you, right? No creo, I don't believe, but go. But he wasn't sending you to me, just to be clear. He was just telling you, even
He
before
Googled you. He's like, oh, look it. You need to go see her. No, absolutely.
No,
I didn't know
yeah.
who you were.
No.
So
this is way before I even offered you the session, right? Like he had already told you need to.
he had
go
told me
get
like a week or two before.
Yeah, yeah.
He had
I
told
had no
me
idea.
like a week or two before, and I'm just like, I didn't do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I've been told that they've done that to me before, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. So my whole thing is, if you're a person that all of us could benefit from it, right? To maybe to speak to someone like yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're a person that's truly trying to seek some kind of clarity, I would maybe call it clarity.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Having one of those one-on-ones with you could provide a form of perspective, a form of peace.
Yes.
That they could benefit from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially,
great way to put it.
Especially the people that are seeking.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
If you're not seeking, then it's a challenge because again, you might not be open to it, right? Like even though
there's two types of people that are not seeking. Two different people, right? Two types. People that are not seeking all of a sudden stumble upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a word of mouth referral or they find my card or they stumble upon my website, not even looking for healing.
Like me?
Well, you're the second type of person I was going to explain. Okay. This first type of person that is not really seeking, but somehow they stumble upon my services and the other healers. There's a lot of us that do this kind of work, in Christ consciousness specifically. Even though they weren't seeking, they find it helpful. Something about it catches their attention, and they're like, maybe I should give that a try. I wasn't seeking it, but maybe I should give that a try. But then, yeah, they're open. Like, hey, I don't know. And then there's the other type that is not seeking. You may come across like you came across me in my services. And you're like, yeah, it doesn't hurt to go try it out, but I'm here and I'm just not going to let you all in. I'm not going to subscribe to this whole thing just yet. And that's okay. I'm not criticizing. I'm just telling you the two types of non-seekers, right? The non-seeking doesn't mean that you won't benefit, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
So you could benefit at some level. You may not get the whole benefit, but at some level, there's something there that either got planted in a sense of like, made you start thinking, I wonder if this is something maybe I should pursue or maybe be a little bit more open about. Maybe I should look at it in a different way.
So like, you know how like when you watch a movie, well, you're gross, so maybe it's different. But when I watch a movie,
why you gotta criticize those girls?
because it's the truth, right? So you
About
watch
what?
a movie and then it gets pretty dusty, and you're like, Man, this is a really good scene. So it's like that's exactly the description. That's the way that I view what you did, where it's like the lumps in my throat. Like I should be crying right now, but fuck this. I'm not gonna cry. Fuck all that. I'm not gonna feel what this movie.
You were definitely fighting it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna feel what this movie is trying to pull from me in this moment. I'm not gonna cry. I gotta understand that this is fictitious. This is not real, and it's just a movie, and it's trying to pull up my emotional strings. So when you were doing your thing, it was like I could feel myself. Holy no! Cut it off.
Why though? What would have happened if you would have allowed yourself to just let your emotions come out the way they were? Because it does happen like that. The minute you step in and I bless you, it like starts opening you up, and it's like emotions, things start bubbling up, and they're coming up to the surface, and I see it physically. I see the person like.
Oh yeah, you saw my face start to contort.
Oh, that was towards the end.
That was when I was going to
go see
hi to
him. Oh my god, I don't want to see the light.
Hey Zeus.
Like what? You were so angry. You were so annoyed.
Bothered.
You were like so annoyed. Like
I was hot.
I didn't ask to come to visit God. What in the world?
I was hot, like literally hot.
I know. Your half of this side of your face got red. This
Yeah.
whole side of it got red, and it got physically hot in here. It usually does, yeah.
Like sweating, like, yo, dude, what the freak? I think you're just about to have a calentón on my face like this or something.
Oh, I just had my hands like this.
Sure. You probably had icy hot on your hands, and you're just like, yes. There's some icy hot right there, huh?
No, look at all my.
I'm kidding.
My cabinets. Go in there.
Yeah, I think people could benefit from what you do, obviously, and I think that. For me, it's not weird what you do. Although I've called you weird many times, it's not weird because...
Yeah, no, and it's okay. I know it's different. It's not your norm that you hear about out there.
Correct.
So and so does this. Oh yeah, that's normal.
It's not the norm.
It's not.
For most people, but I just think that there's no ill intent behind what you do. And...
No, on the contrary.
Yeah. And just like some people find God, Jesus, or whatever it is you want to call it.
You have to say it in that voice. You just want to have the sound effects, huh?
Yeah. Through religion, through church,
through crying in their own darkest moments. Sometimes they see an angel, and that's how they found God, so many different ways.
So like I got a cousin, right? I got a cousin that she's musically inclined, and she sings at churches. And I make fun of her. Like, you go see your Jesus or what? Like, but I also don't make too much fun of her because I also think she might be a little bit sensitive about it. But to each their own. Find your path. Find your...
Just like you're sensitive to me telling you about your darkness and me trying to get into your heart. You're like, no, I don't want it. Don't come here.
It doesn't offend me.
No, it's not offensive to you, but it's more like that's a sensitive spot for you. You don't want to go there.
I think the difference is my ability to... I could take it. A lot of people can't. I could take...
The poking, you mean? The making fun of things, you mean?
The poking, the making fun of... it's... I don't have a I don't have a hill to die on. My beliefs aren't like... They're not part of me. My beliefs are malleable. My beliefs are always changing and learning and adapting. To some belief systems of mine, they're going to take a little bit harder. They're going to take a little bit longer time for me to, like... It's like Tetris, right? So it's like, oh, like this piece should go here. But like, like, I need to move this one around and move it over here, and I need to move this around and move it over here. But I'm a very open person. I think that that's what most people will find out about me, that it's like I like learning and I like knowing all these things. And there's certain views that it's like, oh, you're fucking wrong, dude. Like,
You're open in your mind, but not in your heart. Because you're afraid to lose control.
I will agree with the second statement 100%. It's just the heart is, I know I have a good heart.
Oh yeah, I mean, not being close-hearted doesn't mean you have a bad heart.
Okay, so then I have 100% a closed heart. Like,
well, I know that in your session you completely showed it to me.
Yeah, 100% I have a closed heart.
Which is a session that, most people, obviously, whether they're seeking or not, they found me word of mouth, whatever it is. You'll even see it on the Google reviews. Somebody's like, hey, I got referred. I had no idea what to expect. That's usually what most people say. I had no idea what to expect, but it was amazing, right? In their own way. That moment that you're in that session, in that healing space, the high frequency, the highest light of Christ is shining upon you, revealing things that some people feel it's, no, wait a minute, no, don't reveal that. Like, I don't want, like, no. Shut down the heart. That's what you did. And that's okay. I'm just kind of like, that was your experience, because it's not like you said, it's not like you seeked it. I offered it so that you could have like the experience. You could kind of know, like, hey, check it out, see how it feels. I also didn't know you were gifted before going into the session. I only knew that during the session.
Is everybody gifted?
I think everyone's gifted in their own way. I think everyone has that great, beautiful light within, great spirit. And when I say gifted, it just means, like, when I say it, in this sense, it's like spiritually gifted. It could be that you could see things that some people can't, which you do. And that's okay. You can deny your gift. It could be that some people are gifted in speaking healing words, compassionate words to someone else, being that, shoulder to cry on, and that supportive friend, supportive husband, wife. That's their gift. I believe everyone has a gift. It just may not be a spiritual gift in the sense of seeing the spiritual world the way you see it. And I know you do. And you've told me this now. And maybe some of your friends don't even realize that you do.
Well, because, I mean, people on social media, it's not like I sit here and talk about it, because it's just like for what?
Yeah, no, I get it.
But
I mean, your world is different in the sense of, like, you were talking to me yesterday. I am a mortgage lender. This is what I do for a living. This, I know my stuff and I know what I do. And you do that with a lot of heart, by the way. I know that. I see that. You do that with a lot of heart. That's when your heart opens up. In your art, you do that. You put your heart and soul in it.
I was thinking about my art this morning and what we talked about last night.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You do open up to certain things, and then other things you're like, nope, I'm not going to open my heart to that. But yeah. 1 second. I have to go first.
Okay.
You're right. Sorry.
Handle that scandal.
Well, you went outside, huh?
Yeah, it's cold outside. Well, I got a little colder, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
What assumptions? Let me hear out what you want to clear. You want to clarify something. No, I'm sorry, friend. I really don't want to make assumptions. Of course not. But I'm going based off just conversations we've had briefly here and there. But tell me, what have I made assumptions on?
Come on.
Okay. I hurt your ego. I'm sorry.
No. It's That's why, like, in some ways, I it's like I feel like
Can I do this real quick?
yes,
Because I was looking for you when you first came in. May I, if you're open to it?
absolutely.
Okay.
Stand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Close your eyes. It happens in many different ways, but our spirit pops out of alignment from our physical body. It never leaves completely. It can't leave like fully, obviously, because then we'd be dead. But it pops out of your body, out of alignment with our physical body. Our spirit can do that. Either our spirit's very curious, and so you have the people that astral project, especially the ones that meditate, don't realize that when they're meditating, they need to find ways to like ground themselves, and that literally means ground your spirit back into your body. If not, you're going to be floaty, spacey. Your crown chakra just opened up, and now you're opened up, and it's like this. Look, I don't know if the camera can see that.
The glare, but
So the spirit comes out, right? And now we're a host, a wide open host to spirits, actual ghosts, which is actually how you and I started talking. What did I tell you? I said, call me the modern Ghostbuster.
oh yeah, you're in my phone as Steph Ghost.
Steph Ghost or Ghostbuster?
Steph Ghost.
Anyway.
The ghost is calling.
So one of my anointments that I've received from my shaman teacher, but also because of my, I guess, natural gift of, yeah, ghost busting, but we don't call it that, in the spirit world, I'm able to remove, thank you, God, for the anointment and the blessing to be able to be an instrument of his healing light. I'm able to remove dark entities, dark spirits from people and from homes, from spaces, from businesses. They're there. They're everywhere. I've cleansed hospitals. I've cleansed a Walmart once. Somebody asked me to cleanse a Walmart. Now, I didn't go there physically. I'm able to do all this remotely. I set up here in my healing center. I think I showed you a picture yesterday of how we do it. All our healing tools, everything there. The address of the business of the home. And so spiritually, I'm there cleansing, removing. And it's not just so people think, okay, let me burn some sage. I'm going to get rid of that spirit activity that's happening right there. And the spirit's like, okay, that's cute. Are you okay, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing.
You're back grounded a little bit?
No, I don't feel
good. Yeah. Do you need me to do one more thing for you?
I don't need you to do anything, but if you offer, I'll say sure.
What is it that you don't feel good about? You were popped out for sure. And there was something there that was like annoyed. And so it was like it was being aggravated. That's the best. But it's not you. I need you to know that it wasn't you. And then your spirit was out, and I told you this last night. I'm like, dang it, I forgot to bring your spirit back in before we started recording.
I feel right now, okay. I mean, I don't want to take away from what you were saying.
No, it's okay. I'm asking you, how do you feel? What is it?
I feel high. Meaning, like, I feel a little lightheaded.
Natural high. We healers call it natural high. So it is a thing.
I feel like, I mean, just even grabbing the microphone right now, like um it just feels like I'm in a like my body's trying to see what's really in front of me.
So to explain a little bit of what happened during our break, I felt the need, and I was feeling the need, but I didn't want to like interrupt the flow. But I felt the need to give you a blessing. And then as I had you standing there to give you a blessing, even though you asked me to do it in front of the camera, and I told you no, because this is not a show. And I understand that, you know, you wanted to like, hey, let's show this. But no, it's a sacred thing, and many things can happen, you know. So like as I was blessing you, things were immediately being revealed to me to like remove, and again I went to your heart, right? Something about your heart, and my spirit guide of high frequency with the eagle came in to like literally from the ground up, from your feet up. Both my hands were like this. You weren't seeing that, but both my hands were lifting from you, and kind of doing like a mini cleansing. Okay, why does that you just got a healing, right? And why does that, right? And so why does that happen to you? That happens to a lot of gifted people. You could receive a healing and a blessing, and the next day you open yourself up to like stuff, entities, darkness, and there you go. So as I'm doing that, I realized like, okay, I forgot to like do this for you in the very beginning. I told you last night, hey, you're like way out, your spirit's out. I should have brought you in before doing the interview or the podcast, but yeah, I felt the need to do that for you. And then once I had you with your hands up to bring your spirit back into alignment, you were like this, and you were so tense. And I'm like, do you want to come back? And you're like I don't know, kind of a deal. And you were so tense. And and you're fighting it. You're literally fighting yourself from coming back into alignment with your body. And I'm like, do you want to come back or not?
I was so mad.
Yes, you were.
Mad.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not saying you, Jorge, I'm talking about in general. When we're living out of our physical, when our spirit pops out, and then in that moment, it's very rare that it happens, but it happens where the person's like either weak-willed and they're like, I don't know if I want to bring my spirit back in, or in your case, you were tense. You were so tense. You were so irritated. You were like,
my arms were shaking.
Yeah, I know that. You were sweating. I had to like hold your wrist and like, hey, do you want to live or not? Because it's usually that. The spirit keeps popping out. It doesn't want to live in this realm. It doesn't want to, it's like, for what? I want to live outside of my body. You know, I want to go and explore, and I want to do this and I want to do that. Well, we're in this physical body. We're in this world. Tough luck. Gotta be in your body. Unless, of course, you don't want to live. So I say that to say the importance of spiritual wellness. We have to have mental wellness, emotional wellness, and equally, if not more importantly, spiritual wellness. It's so important. People, we don't, when we're not in that realm or have never experienced a spiritual healing, a limpia, we don't understand how is that helpful. Like, it's a belief system. Yeah, not gonna help me. Well, we have a spirit, we have a soul, and we do benefit in so many different ways. It's actually extremely important for us to receive that. It's like soul food. We have to feed our soul. You can't just feed your mind. We need our mind in this world because it's a material world. We need to be able to operate in this physical material world. But we cannot make this our God. We cannot make this our number one. This is just a tool. It's just a tool. And that's what I mean by making the ego your friend. The ego is your enemy because you've made it your enemy. But how about you talk to it and be like, hey, listen, buddy, you're there. That's cool. But you don't have control over me, over my life. I'm not going to allow you to speak to me negatively, to feed me those lies, to talk to me in a negative way of other people. Yeah, that person might have done that, but you know what? I'm not going to feed you what you want. You want me to feed you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to create a bigger monster out of you. I'm going to go to my heart and find that amber light and find that light to see that person with different eyes. Find that person or see that person with love and compassion, where it's like, all right, maybe there's a reason why they acted that way. Maybe there's a reason why they said what they said. Because look, we've all said things. We've all done things that we regret. So just like we would want grace and forgiveness, we want to offer that to others. And that is the point of these healings, for us to like remove that darkness, remove that hurt and pain, unload. You don't want that in your heart. We don't want that, in our bodies. It's not only going to affect us physically, with ailments and all that. And I don't want to go into that specific talk only because, of course, there's that whole medical community. And I'm like, listen, these are faith healings, but it does offer physical healing as well. Your faith. God is our creator. God heals. So I am only an instrument of that healing light, meaning I'm not here to preach to you or any of that, because I think that's what you asked me to in the beginning of your healing session that one time. You're like, you're not gonna like try to like convince me of anything, right? I'm like, no, that's not the purpose of this. And I'm glad that you were open to it so that you could experience it yourself, and you were able to then tell your friends, hey, listen, I saw some things, I felt some things, and that was me not even being fully open. I can only imagine what that could do for you, that you might go in there a lot more open than I was. Now, why is this whole thing important for us? Look around you. Again, do we want to operate out of fear, out of darkness? What are we feeding? Or do we want to operate out of love and compassion, kindness, grace, forgiveness, which is what Jesus came to teach us. Forgiveness. You mentioned, well, what about the other civilizations? Are they going to hell then, for not believing? Well, Jesus didn't exist prior to that. He came after that, precisely to teach us that. Love and forgiveness. Go to your heart. You see all the images of Jesus, right? He always has his hand here, and the light of God is the Sacred Heart of Jesus is shining through. And what does he have? He has his hand up to bless, to let you know, love and forgive yourself, love and forgive others. The message hasn't changed 2,500 years later. It's the same message. But we choose to feed our ego, our mind, and make it a bigger monster. And then it rules over us. Why? Because it operates out of fear. God didn't create our ego. He didn't create that. We created that. So all the stuff you see around the world happening is because people are here and not here. You feel okay? Not really right now, huh?
I feel a little better.
Okay. It's just, it took you time, right? Well, because you were like legit, you got hot, you got sweaty, you were like so angry. You were like, what? I'm like, why are you angry at yourself? Yeah, and I kept feeling that you're so hard on yourself. You're so hard on yourself. A lot of men are. A lot of people are.
It feels like, so my chest hurts, my heart hurts bad, but, it feels like I'm, trying to assimilate where I'm at.
Makes sense. You were out of your body.
It feels like how do I describe it? I can tell how aggressive I was personality-wise 3 hours ago, and right now I feel drained, honestly.
You got a mini healing right now, just so you know. I didn't mean to. I just offered you a blessing, and then that's what happened. I don't have control of, what God wants to give you.
Right now, as you were talking, I'm struggling to. I'm very in my mind, always.
I know.
Honestly. And I'm like trying to follow what you're saying, and I'm beating myself up in my own head right now that I can't completely follow it.
Because you need to understand with your heart. That's a whole different type of awareness. So don't beat yourself up. Don't force it that you need to understand logically or intellectually.
This is the thing.
You're so used to operating out of that.
It bothers me.
That you're not able to do that right now?
Yes.
I know.
I'm starting to get annoyed.
Okay.
So, like, part of growing up, for me, it was the having been...
Wait, you weren't recording the whole time?
Just right now. Just right now, I just stopped recording. It's been recording.
Oh, okay. I was like, what I shared earlier is pretty good for people.
No.
Yeah.
Just right now.
Okay. You stopped it right now.
No. Right now, I started it. It stops every 30 minutes. That's why every 30 minutes I'm hitting it.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you're something about childhood?
Oh, ADD. Right. So I would say, I was diagnosed with ADD. I'm pretty sure I was. I know I was. I think I was. And one of the medicines is like Ritalin, right, to calm the kids down. That bothers me because I don't function as quickly. Like I feel sluggish. Like I don't feel my brain firing off as quickly as it normally does. So 10 minutes ago, that's exactly how I would feel when I would get Ritalin. You made me feel like I was on Ritalin. You made me feel like I can't fucking think right now. I'm not processing this as quickly as I need to process this shit. And that like immediately starts to make me feel uncomfortable. It starts to make me feel extremely vulnerable. Extremely fucking vulnerable. And vulnerability to the point where what you asked me earlier, like what I felt, and I told you.
I'll tell you later.
Tell you later. I feel sad.
I know, I felt it. That's why I gave the hug. You are denying such a grand part of yourself. Obviously, that's not something that I can figure out for you. You have to figure that out for yourself. But the reason we feel that way, and I know I can feel your heart now. Now I can feel your heart, okay? Definitely you have some resentment, and but it's deeper than what you and I realize. It's just so I kind of want to comment a little bit, if I may, about what you're explaining, you're feeling. What it is, and a lot of people may, you may help people because they might feel that. What it is when our spirit is out of alignment, your spirit pops out, your crown chakra open. Your crown chakra can open, I told you this, over drinking, getting high. I'm sorry. I'm not against that. I'm just making people aware, like, okay, cool. You do that, but then find a way to ground yourself. Because legit, even if even if you're not sensitive to the spirit world or to energies, you just opened up yourself to so many things. Darkness, spirits. They see your beautiful light and they're like, oh, there's an open door there. Let me get a little closer to this person. And you're at the bar chilling, like we've all done that. Trust me, when I used to go out and party, I had no idea what the things that were attaching to myself. But my point is that be aware. Be aware that even meditating, people are very spacey. They are not functioning in reality because if they don't know how to ground themselves, your crown's wide open, you meditated, you did breath work, and you did ground yourself. Now, you're literally a walking open door for all kinds of gunk, darkness, entities, spirits, actual ghosts. They do attach to people. It's a reality. So when our spirit's been out for a little while, whether a day or two, a week, a month, or years, and all of a sudden you come back, it's different for everybody. Some people are like, honestly, like they fall down to their knees, like, oh my God, this is me. They start crying, welcoming themselves back. In your case, you got aggravated and you were like holding tight to your spirit ankles, like you were like this, right? And you were like, I don't know if I want to come back. Why do I have to? Why are you telling me? This is you. I could hear you. Why are you telling me to do this? I want to be out and playing. Like what? Why? I don't have to if I don't want to. Were you feeling a little bit of that?
No.
Aggravation?
No.
Okay. It felt that way. That's what your spirit was telling me.
So, alright. I was exactly like she's describing. And it's recorded, by the way. The full audio.
Then why'd you say no? You dork. But your spirit was telling me that, just so you know.
Excuse me. It was, when you asked me the question, like, it's so weird. When you asked me the question, like, do you want to come back?
Yeah.
My arms just started to shake, but it was like let's say I'm trying to lift up my hand, but this hand's just like
you were fighting it. That's what I was telling you. You were fighting yourself.
Completely fighting it. So that was weird. And
or normal.
Now it's been 15 minutes. I'm starting to feel myself again.
Good.
Like I said, like it feels like you know how when someone's a little bit blind, it's like it does this, like one eye versus the other. Like that's how it feels like.
You're slowly integrating with your body again.
Correct. So just even moving the mic, I was like, I don't know if you saw, but I'm like, what the fuck? I can't even grab this shit.
Yeah, you were out of it. You were like right there, just completely like, what in the world?
And the last thing, not the last thing, but which is the part that really bothers me, irks me the fucking most, is this emotional feeling that I felt immediately when my hands were down. And yes, you gave me a hug. And I needed it.
I know, I saw it in your eyes. Your inner child literally was looking at me like, please, I need a hug. Please welcome me. Please, I need something. My human host, my human body doesn't want it, but I am the spirit in this body and I do want it and I do need it. And I could see it in your eyes and I was like, okay, here it goes. Receive it.
And so that vulnerability, that feeling of sadness, that feeling of nakedness, bothered me. Like, you don't know me, right? We don't know each other.
Yeah. Like literally just a couple of weeks ago. 2-3 weeks ago, yeah.
And it's like, I feel like I'm naked in front of you at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And not the good kind of naked.
Well, and this is the problem with most men. Don't want to be vulnerable because it's like, I'm being exposed. I'm exposing my heart. I don't want to do that.
But the longer I sit here, the more my shield goes up.
That's how you operate. That's your default.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer I sit here, I could feel like the panels going up. Blink, blink, blink. Like, okay, so.
I'm safe now. I'm in control. I'm safe now.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I'm starting to cover it up with my mind right now. Like, cover this fucking shit up, man. Cover this up. What the fuck?
But what though? What would happen if you don't do that? What would happen if you just remove those shields? Hold on. Remove those shields. What would happen?
What would happen if
Yeah. Remove those shields.
I'd feel sad and I would feel emotional. I would feel
that you need to process your emotions, that you need to like sit there with your heart.
Yeah. I would feel what it's like I would feel.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel vulnerable. I don't want to feel naked. Like, I don't want to feel like I work at the Spearmint Rhino. Like, that's not what I do. Like, so that
to clarify, you mean your heart and your emotions.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you know. So yeah, but when I opened my eyes, that's what I felt. I felt this like, fuck my life. I am so sad right now. I feel so weak. I feel that every shield that, not every shield, because I was still able to hold it together because I wanted to fucking cry.
I saw it in your eyes.
Yeah, but I didn't let it out.
I know. Some people,
So,
it takes a lot of sessions if they're willing to work through that. If they're not, then they're not, and that's how you're going to live. That's okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The thing right here that you get,
the knot on your throat.
I'm very good at keeping that knot right there. And so in that moment when you were done, it was hard not to, but I know you're not going to agree with this.
With what?
Yay, you didn't cry, man. You kept it together and you keep it together, like, hold your shit. But, and right now,
you have a choice. What's that saying that I told you in Spanish? El que por su gusto muere, que lo entierren parado. Listen, that's your choice.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with it, is what I'm saying.
But that's why, you know, earlier you were talking about healings.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you did right now, I think, right?
It's a mini healing. I didn't intend for that. I just felt like you needed a blessing, and then I realized as it was happening why. Because I had forgotten that I told you last night, hey, you're way out. Obviously, that's just me being a healer. I can see that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you're like already way out of your body. Like you went traveling way out.
Oh, you keep going.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So, what's happening with the, but yeah, you were way out, and I just felt like I needed to give you a blessing. That's all. I just felt like I needed to give you a blessing. I took a break, went to the restroom, came back looking for you. You were already gone. You went to take a smoke break. And I didn't find you, so I was waiting for you. I was just playing music. And when you got back, I was like, hey, may I do this for you? I gave you the blessing, and as I'm blessing you, the healing already starts. That's just because of my anointments of being a healer. Okay, the blessing alone could give a mini healing to someone. And in your case, I could see it that when I was blessing you, it was almost like a zipper on, and it was like a gray. Oh my God, I don't want to say it this way, but it was like a gray body case around you, and it was like blessing you. And as I'm blessing you, it literally, the zipper is coming off, like unzipping, and then came that thing that was surrounding you. And then that's when my spirit guide came in real quick. He's very quick, and goes with my hands under from your feet to lift that off of you. And it got lifted, and as it was lifting, I could feel your heart, and I needed to like get something off of your heart. And then after, it was like a little mini healing, cleansing. And then I had to call back your spirit, right? And that's when you had a hard time bringing it back or calling yourself back. You're angry, you're irritated, and that sadness that you feel, again, I could be wrong. That's just my own
interpretation of it.
Interpretation, what I see, what I feel. The deep sadness that you have, and that anger or I feel resentment. I feel that there's other emotions, but I feel like to me, it really truly feels like it's something so deep in your soul from past lives, and you're even angry that you're having to be here in this lifetime. Like, why am I here? Why do I have to be here? Why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
And I've met many people like that, by the way. And the telltale sign of somebody suffering from that, they usually just want to be out of their body. They usually just want to do that. They'll literally make themselves do that. Psychedelic trips, or, drinking a lot, or, well, that's more of like the spirit attachments that happen, but the addiction part that we haven't talked about, but that'll be for another day. It's more like people that even astral project. They don't want to live in reality. They don't want to live in this body. They don't want to be here. That resentment is like, why did I have to come here?
So, what I'm getting right now on the camera, sorry to interrupt, but
it's okay,
is I want to get, I want to be able to wrap up because it's saying that, I mean, we've been shooting for almost 4 hours.
4 hours?
Look
oh my God. I'm so sorry.
No. And so the camera's saying it's overheating right now.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's going to cut off, but
yeah, let's wrap it up.
Who should come to see you?
Okay, good question. Anyone going on that inner healing journey, whatever that may be. Some people tell me they've gone to, Reiki healers, or they've tried to look for healing through sound bath. Okay, that's one type of person. Another type of person, a lot of people that reach out to me are going through some sort of like emotional turmoil, or at a crossroads in their life, and they feel blocked in some sort of way, whether financially, in their relationships, there's something there. Or sometimes they're very well aware of their wounds, like mother-father wound. I need to heal that. I need to heal my inner child. I need to be able to process that so that I don't transfer that to my children, so that I'm the one that breaks the chains off, like the ancestral trauma. They're very well aware. Some people don't even know any of that stuff. They just know they need something different. Something needs to change in their life. And it's literally their soul, their guardian angel guiding them, God guiding them, like, hey, wake up. You need to do the inner work. Wake up. Because if not, nothing's going to change and you just wasted this whole life. Life is a gift, and it's not here for us to operate all the time in the physical realm as far as like, our day-to-day job, our mind, like all that. That's great and dandy, but we need to tend to our hearts. We need to tend to our soul. And, I've had people bring their children, bring their spouse. A lot of men bring their wives, their girlfriends. They gift them healings. It's a beautiful thing to see. I just did a healing for a lady the other day, and her boyfriend found me, and he was like, go see her. She had a spirit attachment. She had a dark spirit on her, making her depressed, sad, angry all the time. So it was so beautiful to see that instead of the boyfriend saying you're crazy or this or that, he was like online looking for help for her. And not just like your mainstream, Main Street help or conventional help, but really he was looking for like spiritual help, so I thought that was really cool for him to have done that for her. And then there are the people that are aware of their gifts. Yesterday I had a guy call me. He is aware of his gifts. He's at a crossroads. He's a massage therapist, but he's like, I hit a roadblock and I don't know why. Well, I could immediately sense he picked up a lot of energies from, being a masseuse. And when you're gifted in that sense, you will absorb like a sponge even more. But then you don't know how to release that, so we all need limpias, cleansing, clearing. Why? We're a walking magnet. We're gonna pick up dust, dirty energies. And then there's the cords that we create. You and I have created cords right now. When we leave, I'm going to cut the cords, and I'm going to show you how to cut the cord. When you guys talk to your clients, any interactions of the outside world, we've got to learn how to cut the cords. And it's just as simple as imagining those cords, so many cords, because they come from here, from the solar plexus. They come from here. And you just want to gently cut the cords and karate chop, literally karate chop in front of you. And you may burp. And that's the purpose of burping. It happens naturally. See, like right now, I don't want to burp in the mic, but I can feel it. Or you may sense it, and then all of a sudden you feel a relief. Sensitive people to energies will feel it, but it's a practice that you want to do. We are so burdened and such a heavy weight of social media energies, everyone around us, our work, so many thought forms in our energy field weighing us down. You want a total reset of energy. You want to clear energy. You want to start the new year with like total reset, clear mind, clear heart, clear energy field. All my chakras are, cleansed and aligned. That's what these healings do. And I'm going to find a spirit if there's there. If there's a spirit attached to you, making you anxious, that's a telltale sign. Anxiety, depression, sadness, crying all the time for no reason, being argumentative, fighting with people just for no reason, just because you want to instigate a fight.